there are moments of frustration and tears.
Let's talk about that. Those moments of frustrations. What are those? What would about
Zoom.
them?
Zoom is a lot of
Let's talk
things.
about that.
Like, first of all, the one thing that remains a nightmare for a lot of women is the issue of sexual abuse. Like sexual abuse that is a lot to do with politics, you know. In Zimbabwe over the years, I remember in January 2019, there was that report of women that were raped by men in military uniforms during that incident that we have where people are beaten and all those things. So that's one thing that really kind of hit me really hard. And it extends even to the issue last year of the 3 young women from the MDC Alliance that came back and we're talking about an experience being sexually violated. And it's not just that. In Bulawayo, you also read about young girls that are sexually violated just to prove a point to their father who was involved in politics. So the reason why it's such a frustration or a point of, of anger for me is because I'm like, I'm a woman. Just because it's hard doesn't mean it can't happen to me. So it's understanding that every day as a woman fighting for democracy in this country, in the continent, you're putting yourself on the line because anyone can decide to just come in and, just prove a point that we can do something that can silence you. So that's one thing that really sits so strong. And also for those women, I remember I did a follow-up with a friend last year just to ask how they are, because I know for sure nothing was done about those cases of January 29. And I was talking to this lady and she's talking about how there's 2 women that she mentioned. And one of them, she says that she has an STI that she can't get treated for. And she doesn't even have the resources, to go to hospital. And the other one was talking about how she was pregnant and the baby, she lost the baby before her full term. So it's these 2 women who can never have a life that where you can be free and not think about what happens to you. So it's understanding that every day and realizing that we're living in a country that almost fights us every day for simply existing as women. So it messes me up clearly. So I think it's, in as much as it makes me angry, makes me cry a lot, it also comes back to say it validates what I do every day. It might not be changing all the women in the country, but it's inspiring people every day to keep fighting because someone can't fight for themselves. And we have the privilege of the spaces and the platforms to speak for those people, to spotlight their experiences, and also just to demand a Zimbabwe that respects them, that gives them dignity, because I think we all deserve it in our different capacities. Yeah.
You're being very emotional right now. Do you think you're making progress?
In the work that I'm doing,
Yeah.
definitely. Definitely. I think, like I was mentioning, that for me, it's issues of connecting people, collaborations and networks. So especially during lockdown, where you're realizing that there's a lot of women that will come in and say, do you know a place where there's a shelter for women that are abused? I remember sometime in 2019 in Hartfield, I'd gone to Hartfield for a program that we're doing on constitutional awareness. And I met this woman and she was talking to me about how this child, she was 11 at the time, had been raped by her father, and the mother paid bail for this man to get out of prison. The mother of the child paid bail for her husband to get out of prison. So she was just asking, how do we support this girl, not just to get counseling, but to also go back to school, those kind of things. So I think I'm making progress in my small way by always finding ways to connect those women with people that I know can offer assistance. But not just that, it's also spotlighting those issues. For me, my biggest strength is my ability to speak and my ability to write. So if I'm not speaking about it, I'm writing about it. I have a blog called Radites, where I write what I call fiction, but it's a reflection of experiences of real life people. So just being able to write about the abuse of women, I think it's such a big issue for me. It helps people to start talking. There's a book that we published recently, and my story is really centered around the sexual abuse of women in marriages, in politics, and in universities. It talked about women in politics. So I think I'm just using my talents, to highlight those experiences because it gets women talking. Someone will send you a message and say, I went through this and I haven't dealt with it. Or they'll come in and say, this is how I kind of took myself away from this. So I think for me, it's always been just seeing women win, you know, and be able to share their stories. When you share their stories, you encourage more women to get out, I guess. So I think that's what I'm trying to do for now. Then later, when I have more capacity, you know, and networks, I think I could do more.